Welcome to Middle Class Matters. Today we are going to discuss on the subsidizing of the corporate loans by the retail borrowers. After this, the Modi government took over in 2014, all the rules and regulations are framed so that the middle class people, lower, upper and middle class people will be subsidizing the corporates. The corporates are getting everything what they want, but whereas the taxes are collected from the poor and the middle class. So let's see how this happens. Let's understand certain terms, which is EBLR, external benchmark lending rate. Then the next one is MCLR, marginal cost of funds based lending rates. Then the next term is benchmark weighted average lending rate, WALR. Always the market is in favor of the bulk borrowings by the corporates, and it is more evident from April 2022. The gap between the lending rate or the interest rate charged by the banks is very high for retail loans compared to corporate loans. As per RBI rules, the retail loans like buying of cars, homes, or vacations, that is personal loans, MSME and small business loans, are to be based on external benchmark lending rate, whereas the corporate bulk loans have to be at the rate of marginal cost of funds based lending rates. From May 2022 to March 2023, the increase in EBLR, that is external benchmark lending rate, is around 2.5%, whereas the increase in marginal cost of funds based lending rate is only 1.4%. The net interest margin for the banks charged for the retail loans is around 6%. That is the cost of lending minus the cost of borrowing. They are charging a profit of 6% from the retail loans. That is ordinary consumers who are taking the home loan, car loan and personal loan, and from MSME and small businesses. But whereas the net margin interest rate charged for the corporate loans is 2%. That is, the corporates are charged at 4% interest rate less compared to retail loans. Since the banks are having heavy margins on retail loans, they concentrate on retail loans, and recovery is also very easy compared with corporate loans, where the margin is very less and the corporate default is also very high. The retail loan customers are having no remedy like declaring insolvent and going for bankruptcy and going to National Company Law Tribunal for settling the dues. But whereas the corporates are having this avenue of declaring themselves insolvent and referring them to NCLT. For once it is referred to NCLT, the recovery is very, very less for the banks. As far as the EBLR, that is external benchmark lending rate, is concerned, the transmission of increase is faster compared to MCLR or weighted average lending rate, since the external benchmark lending rate is linked to repo rates. From up to May 2022, the benchmark lending, that is the repo rate, has been increased by RBI from 4% to 6.5%, that is 2.5% has been increased by the RBI. EBLR increase is 1.73% compared to WALR increase of 0.95% for May 2022 to February 2023. The bifurcation of the lending percentage by the public sector banks and private banks against EBLR, the public sector banks have lent 48.3% of their borrowings, and the private banks have lent 70.5% of their total lending against EBLR. In the case of the private banks, the MCLR lending is 35.2%, whereas in the case of public sector, it is 46%. Let's see the different lending rates charged by the various banks. The percentage of customers is being presented as a table. SBI is lending 24% of the total loan against EBLR rate and 42% against MCLR rate. The Axis Bank lends 39% on EBLR and 22% on MCLR and fixed interest 32%. ICICI Bank lends 46% on EBLR rate and 20% on MCLR rate and fixed interest rate 31%. Let us see the repo rate increases by RBI. From the repo rate was 4% up to May 2022, but it was increased in May 2022 by 0.4% to 4.4%. By 8th June 2022, again it is increased to 4.9%, and on 5th August 2022, it was increased to 5.4%. 30th September 2022, it was increased to 5.9%. 7th December 2022, it was increased to 6.25%. And 8th February 2023, it is increased to 6.5%. So that means that from May 2022 to February 2023, it is increased from 4% to 6.5%, that is an increase of 2.5%. So this increase is automatically passed on to the EBLR interest rate, that is for the external benchmark lending rate customers. They are the retail loan people who are taking for buying house, car or personal loan or MSME or small business segment. But whereas the MCLR has been increased only by 1.4% during this 1 year, more than 1 year, almost 1 year period, only by 1.4%. So that means that they are given an additional benefit of 1.1% discount by not increasing the lending rate. So that is the reason why the margin is very high in case of the retail loans, which is at 6%. Whereas the corporate loans, the margin is only 2% for the banks. Whereas the banks are charging, they are not passing on the increase in interest rate to the fixed deposit which the ordinary people hold with the banks. But whereas the lending rate is increased for the ordinary people. So this is why it is being termed as corporates are subsidized with the retail loans interest which is being charged very high. This people should understand that the middle class is bearing the brunt of any activity which is done by this government, which is working against the middle class, whether increase in interest rate, increase in say taxes, increase in petrol prices, increase in LPG, all these are working against the middle class, because the consumption will be the same whether you are in whether the person is a crorepati or an ordinary person. The amount of money which the crorepati pays is insignificant as far as he is concerned, but whereas it will form a major significant portion for the middle class. This should be avoided by the government. If this continues, the people, the middle class and the poor people should take a call in the election, so that this type of lopsided development of the corporates at the cost of the middle class can be avoided by the governments. Please subscribe this channel, like the video and support us, because this is being published as educational video. Thank you for your support.